What's up, you damn gorgeous and beautiful gamers? Welcome back to Role-Playing James. This is Mariel Corner in the internet where we like to discuss about RPGs. If you like the content, if you find the content enjoyable, if you like these conversations with Mariel James, I would very much like to invite you to hit that like button because it really helps me, like you have no idea. And also subscribe to the channel. Most of the people that watches my content is in fact not subscribed to my channel. If you're watching this, then you might as well, right? But Elden Ring, almost here, and every day that passes by I get more and more anxious. The weight is it's finally hitting its toll into my body. A final conversation before the actual launch. I've seen in my comments below that many people are interested about hybrid builds. Now there is something called quality build on Dark Souls, on Souls games, and Elden Ring that's actually the case as well. We have Ashes of War for quality builds, we have weapons for quality builds. But I should like to differentiate a little bit more the quality builds from the hybrid builds. What is a hybrid build? Essentially, when you mix a magic casting kind of build with a melee kind of build. So the cases that I am going to be discussing in this video are mainly the ones that we have information and knowledge about from the network beta test and from the final build the press was able to play, not from the spoilers that have been running around that. So you should be quite safe about that. But do bear in mind that there's people out there already playing the game, so there's that. Now, back to the topic. Those hybrid builds are essentially magic and strength, or strength and faith. And then that's for magic. Those are the hybrid builds for magic. And then you have magic, sorceries, and dexterity, and faith and dexterity. Now, the short answer is that sadly, it is better to go on the path of dexterity and a kind of caster build, whatever the kind of caster that you want to use, either intelligence or fate. It's going to be better on dexterity, and the reason for that is actually very simple. So if you enjoy these conversations, then stick around so that we can begin with this matter. But let us backtrack a little bit to when the game was announced and when the From Software team told us about the stats of Elden Ring. Back then they said that strength was going to be tied to weight ratio, to carry weight, which essentially they said that with strength you were going to be able to use heavier gear, heavier armor. The problem in here is precisely that in the final build there is an Italian journalist that played the game, and he focuses on these little mechanics that everyone else was not looking into it. Now all of this might change in the final release of Elden Ring. And if you have watched the spoilers, then I would invite you not to tell them to our viewers in here, because they might not be interested in those kind of spoilers. So that being said, strength is no longer tied to carry weight. Instead, that's tied to endurance, which is a nerf, a huge nerf. Let me explain. Back then, with the original kind of thought or plan that they had for strength, it was not balanced. I'm not going to say balanced, but each kind of build had like their own strength and cons. So for example, a strength / magic or fate build would not cast as fast as a dexterity / fate and intelligence build, but it would have other perks, like for example being able to wear the heaviest armor in the game without being fat rolling around then, all that kind of stuff. So that is the main asset that the strength build would have when you mix it up with intelligence or fate. And why is it so important? I know that many of you guys that are new to the Soul series might not know about all of this stuff, so that is why I am trying to teach you as much as I can from the original mechanics that we had back then. But essentially, when you use heavier armor in Elden Ring, we have two kind of poises, which have been changing throughout the Souls games to balance them out. But essentially you have passive poise and hyper armor. If you do not know how they work, I have a video on that. You can check it out on the tab of Elden Ring guides on my channel. But to make it simple, essentially it's not to get interrupted while you're performing actions. If you cast something, you would not be interrupted if you would be wearing heavier armor. If you are going to be using heavier armor and you have high poise and passive armor and hyper armor, passive poise and hyper armor, you are not going to get interrupted while you're casting those spells. And also by the armor that you're wearing, essentially you're going to be protected at some extent, with some other stats that give you much more protection. The problem in here is that was nerfed, and to be completely honest, I can actually understand it a little bit, but they left strength bare bones. They took away the perks that strength had in this specific front, and they took away versatility from the builds that we were going to make. It's still possible to make what I am going to show you right now, but this picture that you have in front of you, this is a havel mage. Back in Dark Souls 1, when you had passive poise, this was one of the most overpowered things that you would find in the entire game. Intelligence has always been seen as the easy mode of the game, because you could dish disgusting amounts of damage with some spells, but also, thanks to poise, if you wear a complete Havel's armor set and a catalyst of sorts, you would be able to fucking be a tank, like literally be a tank in all of the sense of the word. How so? Well, you have passive poise, you are not being interrupted while you cast, you have so much armor, and also you're dealing disgusting amounts of damage. So you don't actually have to be worrying about blocking the attacks of the bosses. You don't actually have to be worrying about rolling away from the attacks of the bosses, because all you had to do was just stand there, launch your spells, throw your spells at the boss, and when you're required to, use Estus Flask to regain your health, which is not going to be going down as much as the boss would want it to go down. So yes, it was very, very overpowered, and that was going to be like the main strength of this kind of hybrid build. And then you have Dexterity and casting. Dexterity is going to give you casting speed, right? So essentially, on the opposite way around, you are an agile caster. You want to, if you use spells on Fate, remember that I have guides on Fate and Magic on my channel, they have personalities, so on and so forth. But essentially, if you have more Dexterity, if you play 60 points into Dexterity and 60 points into Intelligence or Fate, if that's being the case, you would be casting real fast, so that you would be able to get away from enemies' harm. And if you're a caster, like with Sorceries, you would be able to cast those sorceries from a safe distance at a fair amount of casting speed, so that you would be able to get away from the enemy as soon as possible. Now, as you can see, if we divide this kind of builds, strength would allow you to cast your spells, not get interrupted, not receiving that much of a damage, and still, like, it's basically a trade. You get hit, you hit. And the hit that you're going to make, trust me, there are spells on Soul Series that can deal 2k damage. Yes, there are spells that can actually do that, even to bosses. For example, Soul Stream, if you pair that up with some other stuff. Or for example, Great Lightning Spear, Sunlight Spear. There are some spells in the Elden Ring that will require you to invest 70 points into the desired stat, and while those 70 points are not going to natively, those 10 extra points are not going to natively increase your damage that much, they are indeed going to be very, very powerful spells. So imagine if you were that kind of Havel tank, Havel caster, Havel mage. and just stand there and launch your spells at the enemy, it's the easiest way that you can play. Now, dexterity and casting, it requires a little bit more of versatility on your playstyle, because you have the advantage that you can cast faster, but also you have to use lighter armor. You wouldn't have poise. You would have to be rolling away from enemies' harm. You would have to be rolling away from enemies' danger and the attacks and all of the things that surround it. So one is able to take the hits at a slight cost of being hit, and being hit on your health as well, having to be healing. And the other one, it's just like casting as fast as possible and then get away from enemies' harm. So as you can see, now strength is not going to be tied to weight. So if you would want to have a strength kind of mixed build, it wouldn't make any sense, because you would have to be investing points into endurance, a lot of points into endurance, if you wanted to make this kind of build. And you will still be able to make this kind of builds. It does sound quite overpowered, and I will be teaching you how to make those builds, but they are not going to be intrinsically strength builds. They are just going to be like those havel mages. We might not have havel's armor in here because it's no longer part of Souls games, but I will find the heaviest possible armor, and I will be able to make this kind of tank caster build work so that I can show you guys how powerful it is. But it's no longer going to be strength. It's going to be purely casting, because you are going to be needing to invest some more points into endurance, no longer into strength. And if you place them into strength, then you would be placing those points into weights, because it's not natively going to increase that much of your casting kind of build. Like before, it was a side thing. Now it just gives you a strength scaling, and you're likely not going to be using that because you want to stand in there like a pro casting spells. So now the only stat that actually gives you that side bonuses is dexterity, which is going to give you casting speed. That is a long answer. Unfortunately, the best possible hybrid build that you can make is dexterity and intelligence, or either fate. That is going to be your go-to. I pray that they give strength like back the bonuses that it had, because thanks to this, strength builds are probably not going to be that popular, thanks to not being able to stand up on pair against the other stats that do have side effects that actually help you, like the one that dexterity has with the casting stuff. It has to be said, being a havel tank, havel caster, havel mage with strength, it would be way too overpowered. It was already too overpowered in Dark Souls 1. That's likely the reason why they changed it. But there's that. I hope that you guys find this video useful. Remember to check out all my other guides that I have on the channel. I have them on a specific playlist that you can find on the very beginning, my main page of the channel. That being said, if you like the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel before you close the door. If no one has told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, then you are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and remember to stay safe out there. I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.